Hi, or welcome to my channel where I just talk about general spiritual things and health and well-being and everything that keeps us as vital as we can and keeps us evolving. So mentally, physically and spiritually is everything that I'm interested in. So I wanted to talk today a little bit about how we're controlled. So I know there's a lot of conspiracy theories and, there's so much truth to a lot of them, but then I find we can kind of get stuck in a way of just over analyzing the conspiracies a little bit. When the main thing is, if we heal our emotional triggers, then we're no longer kind of affected by these things because we're in complete control of ourselves. We have autonomy. We have autonomy over our mind, basically. And this is where a lot of society is so controllable right now because they haven't mastered emotional triggers and reaction. And they're very easy to manipulate a lot of people in society. So you only have to have a few bad actors, and these bad actors can be all kinds of people too. It can be on a small scale, it can be on a big scale, but you're going to find that there's going to be some people that are going to take advantage of the fact that it's very easy to control the majority of society with a few emotional triggers. They don't actually have to do anything other than pull a few little strings and have everybody basically essentially doing what they want to do without any seeming force or anything. It just, people willingly will get up and do it for them because they've watched it on the television, they've read it in the newspaper, their peer groups are doing it. You see, it's easy to infiltrate all these systems. So you've got stuff like TikTok and you'll be like, oh yeah, but it's an independent user putting a video on there. But really, they've had their mind infiltrated because people will sneak trends into these apps. People will pick up on these trends. And then you'll have all these people doing the trends, and then that's how it kind of like infiltrates. At the moment, there's a massive thing with crazy filters, for something we were talking about, where people are putting such filters over their videos and their photos now that it's like a new face. I mean, it's new eyes. Like, you watch the eyes and we've become really desensitized to it because people say, oh yeah, but everyone uses filters and it's really automatic. And I'm not saying I've never tried a filter myself. But I think when we rely on these filters and we don't want to put our actual face out in the world without another face over it. I mean, it has its own makeup on it, it has its own, and you could say, well, we know it's filters now, but I still think it then trends down into young people wanting to have surgeries and work to look like more like their filtered version rather than their real version. And then you've got to question, what's the deeper agenda here, that we're being infiltrated with these filters, and then people are going to go out and try and emulate these filters, and then we're kind of already desensitized to the world looking somewhat robotic and the same. A lot of people now have the same face features. They have the same lips, have the same jaw, the same, and then they've got these filters, so then we're looking even more similar. Where's this going? Now we're so desensitized with all looking the same. And that stems from people having emotional triggers with not loving themselves. I think, if all this stuff would have come in when I was really young, I probably would have been a lot more emotionally affected by it. And, it's difficult then to put your stuff out there that's like raw next to, loads of filtered versions that, are completely different. You start to become more aware of your own content, and it's, you do start to analyze it in a different way. And so they're feeding on the emotional trigger of people being insecure and everybody thinking that you earn love through beauty and those kind of templates, and that the more physically attractive you can be, the more perfect, the more you're going to find someone that wants to be with you, and the more people are going to value you and respect you. And we start to go down that kind of thing, and then it's going to be very easy for them at some point just to drag in the metaverse or say, oh, let's upload ourselves to other consciousness. So once you evolve all these emotional triggers, you don't really get like sucked in as much to these methods of being able to control people. And then you've got the emotional reactions around social justice issues. So they throw in a social justice issue, which at heart does have like, you know, good intentions behind it, like Me Too, BLM, what's the other one? The Extinction Rebellion. I mean, there's something good behind all of these, but rather than bring more unity or really help the environment or really help equal rights and things like this, what we end up doing is just having everybody like arguing and fighting, and it just makes matters worse. And that's because they've used social justice issues because they know they trigger people. They know they get people really angry and fired up. And then they plant a few seeds. You know, you don't know, these people on Twitter that make a comment, we've all fallen for it. It's been like a stupid comment, like, oh, well, I have, like, we've argued with them, and you don't even know if they're like a real person. There's bots on Twitter, you know, there's fake accounts, there's even fake, I don't know if it's still up, but there's like a website where you can go and work as a protester. So somebody that just has a particular cause, you go and protest a cause that you might not even believe in, and you get paid for it. So, you know, don't believe that any of these things are real. And what they're doing is they're playing on your emotions, and they're playing on your reactions and your triggers, and they're picking something that people are very angry about, and they're just inciting a reaction, and then they can control you and place you where they want. And the same with, let's say, toilet paper is a really good example. You know, there was never, they can create reactions from nothing. Nobody removed toilet paper. There wasn't a shortage of toilet paper. There was always toilet paper for everybody to go and buy toilet paper if they wanted to buy toilet paper. In fact, I think over that period, they started producing more toilet paper. So there's actually more toilet paper in the world probably than there's ever been. And yet we had a shortage because they just put some photos out there. They got into the subconscious of the population that there was a shortage of toilet paper. So then everybody went and bought more toilet paper than they needed. They started visualizing photos of lack. They lived in a reality where there's a lack of toilet paper. And guess what? Yeah, then there's a lack of toilet paper, right? I never had a lack of toilet paper, actually, because I was weirdly laughing about it, because I obviously didn't think it was that bad to run out of toilet paper. And I never bought one more roll of toilet paper than I needed. And I had this thing going where I would take photos of the toilet paper in every shop I went to, and I'd be like, I don't know why you're all having problems with toilet paper. And I think because I was creating such an abundance of toilet paper, it did end up where I went into a shop. It was like a health food shop, and they'd taken over the entire front of the shop, even the fridge section with toilet paper. And I thought, this is getting ridiculous now. But that's, you know, you don't have to take stuff away from people, because we're manifestors, we're creating energetically. So all they need to do is create a lack, a feeling of lack within us, or a tug on an emotional trigger, and then we do all the work for them as a population. So, you know, it's really being aware of your emotional triggers and working through those emotional triggers and learning not to be reactive, not to be angry, to be able to actually discuss and debate things with people, even if you think that their opinion is so different to yours and it's so gross to you, and you think that they are this you know, they're a terrible person for having that opinion. You know, actually it's much better to be able to talk, to debate, to listen, to speak. And these are values that we've really lost in today's society. We've lost the ability of rational dialogue and discussion over topics that, you know, we think differently on. And now people just react and get hateful and aggressive. And then, you know, that's why we're creating so much war and and anger and separation in this world. We're creating more separation than, you know, we've had in a while. But I do think this will make people wake up to it, because it is getting to such an extreme level that I think at some point people are going to kind of, I don't know, I think that's kind of what's happening is it's being pushed to such a like melting pot that at some point everyone's gonna have to find a way to change, which is what I think happens to all of us in our individual journeys. I know for me, when I had my awakening experience, it was sort of like at the beginning, it was sort of like I had so many triggers and stuff, but I couldn't just avoid them anymore. It's like they all came to the surface and got worse than they'd ever been, because I couldn't really avoid them anymore, or just push them to the side, or just avoid that person or whatever. It was like I had to face them and I had to work through them. And that's an ongoing process, of course, but until we can start learning to do that, we're just never going to have, you know, we all say, oh, I want world peace, but a lot of the people saying they want world peace are meanwhile hating somebody for having a different opinion from themselves, or doing things in a different way to how they do them, or thinking in a different way. And if you really want world peace, then, you know, the way to get world peace is to become peaceful, right? And that's a process, and, you know, it's okay not to be there, and we all react, we all have triggers, and we can only just keep on, you know, working and going forwards and trying to be less and less reactive and more able to try and listen to other people. Because I genuinely believe the majority of people on this planet do want a more peaceful world, at least consciously. But subconsciously, we're creating the opposite, because we've got all these subconscious patterns running that have not been brought to the light, or not been brought into awareness yet and worked through. So I'd say that a lot of the population are constantly just in a state of reaction and running on their subconscious. And I think more and more we're having people wake up, people are becoming aware that they have all these subconscious programs that are creating realities that we don't want to experience. So it is possible to change them. It is possible to do the self-work and create better beliefs and better patterns and better realities for ourselves. And we're learning to, you know, half the world is getting more and more fake and removed from like organic reality. And, you know, then there's others of us that are really trying to become more authentic. We're trying to really like love ourselves deeply and embody who we are. And that's also a journey and a work in progress. But these are the things that will mean you just don't fall for any control tactics or manipulation, because once you are strong in your non-reaction, you can't be dragged into falling for this stuff anymore. If you don't react from fear, you don't react from anger, then you kind of go past being able to be controlled anymore. So anyway, that's just the message that I wanted to say for today. And yeah, I hope everyone is good, and I'll see you all soon.